Right.
We are official.
Okay, thank you. So we are calling to order to conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance. This board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It's a bit cumbersome, so I ask you in advance for your patience. First, because each member of this board participating in this meeting is participating from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all of the other members. Accordingly, I am going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you are calling. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. So, Mary Lipsey.
I don't see her.
Is Mary still trying to get on, connect?
No, I'm here. Mary Lipsey, Springfield, Virginia.
All right, great. Gretchen Bulova.
Gretchen Bulova, Fairfax.
Carol Herrick.
Carol Herrick, McLean.
Elise Murray. Okay, Elise. Barbara Nape.
Barbara Nafe, Reston.
Ann Stuntz.
Ann Stuntz, Vienna.
All right. Steve Sherman.
Steve Sherman, Franconia.
Okay. Phyllis Walker Ford. Phyllis, I would not expect a response from her. I haven't gotten a chance to open the email, but I did see that she was saying she was not going to be able to attend tonight's meeting. Phyllis, if you actually are here, shout out. Otherwise, we'll go on to Barbara Peters. Barbara, are you with us?
She sometimes has trouble. I'll send her a text.
Sure, thank you. I don't know why I am having so much trouble. Sorry. Barbara, Ann Barnes.
Ann Barnes is here. I'm on the phone, but I'm here. I'm Mount Vernon area. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. Sally Lyons.
Sally Lyons in Colchester.
All right. Tammy Manarino.
Tammy's here.
You got it. Tammy Manarino from Mount Vernon.
I know, I'm trying better with these. Oh, look at that. Sue Kovac-Schumann.
Sue Kovac-Schumann, Mantua.
Hi. Lynn Garvey-Hodge.
Lynn Garvey-Hodge, Springfield District.
Jordan Tannenbaum.
Jordan Tannenbaum in my dining room.
Located somewhere in Fairfax County.
Fairfax County.
Esther McCullough.
Esther McCullough, Sully District.
Okay. Robert Beach.
In Fairfax.
All right.
Braddock District.
And David Meyer.
David Meyer, City of Fairfax.
All right, excellent. And I might actually have video in a minute or so. All right. Where's the little thing? My instructions. So at this point, I will pass the virtual gavel over to the Vice Chair, to Lynn, so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion. I move, and so Lynn, I am handing you your gavel so virtually you can't even see it.
Feel it. You're doing a great job.
So I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
Second, this is Esther.
Okay, so Esther seconds. And by the way, thank you, Ryan, for listening in and trying to keep track with us. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures. The fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting. As such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require physical assembly of this board and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that this board may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated phone line and that the public may access this meeting by WebEx virtual meeting. Attendee call in 1-844-621-3956, access code 179-607-2025, Fairfax, Virginia. It is so moved. I guess second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any abstentions? All right. Finally, it is required that all of the matters addressed on today's agenda must address the state of the emergency itself, are necessary for the continuity of Fairfax County government, and or are statutorily required and necessary to continue operations and the discharge of this board's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Second.
Thank you. Not sure who was that?
Herrick.
Carol, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed or nays? Thank you. All right. And I'm actually going to hang up I'm going to put my phone down for a second.
And can you all hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
There you are.
Right. Here I am.
Cheryl Barbara Peters is with us now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Barbara. The two of us had a struggle tonight, I think, in terms of trying to access this meeting. All right, Barbara.
Can we hear from Barbara so we can hear?
Thank you, Esther. Great point. Barbara, can we hear from you? Make sure that we can.
Yes. I am here in Annandale, Virginia, finally.
Thank you. All right. Great. Thank you, Esther. All right. So I want to wish Carol a happy anniversary.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank her for coming here on her wedding anniversary night. I also want to thank Carol for all of her service as chair of the advocacy committee. She is stepping down so that she can focus on a swifter and more complete recovery from her fall. And so I know we all wish her well for that.
Yes.
I also, as I mentioned before, thanks to Ryan for substituting in. And also I want to thank Jordan for providing that form letter for us for the telecommunications responses. If you have any questions about using that, just contact me or Jordan. All right. Phyllis, as I mentioned, is excused. She did contact me in advance. I don't think we have any guests, do we, Denise? Any guest staff to introduce?
Sorry, Cheryl. No, there are no guest staff. Thank you.
Great. Sure. All right. So we begin with our minutes. I guess we need any concerns or objections or changes to the minutes for January?
Cheryl, This is Barbara Nape, and I move acceptance of the minutes of our January 13th History Commission meeting and to pay the clerk.
I second.
Okay. And before we vote to approve, I just want to note that that payment will actually be the amount that we voted to increase her to. So it would be $565 plus the appropriate FICA. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Cheryl,
Yeah.
do you want your gavel back?
Oh, yes, I do want my gavel back.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I seized it from you.
Yes.
There it is. Yes, thank you. Those forms do have to be observed, I guess. All right. Any nays, any opposition or abstentions with regard to minutes and paying the clerk? All right, motion passes. Okay, Barbara, your treasurer's report.
Well, all right. We started the first of the year with $76,046.08. We had a budget adjustment of $30.66, which is effectively interest payment, and transfer of funds for the James Lee marker of $13.50 arrived in our account. This was because the James Lee Center payment is coming from another Fairfax County agency, so it was a direct transfer into our account. There were no expenses. Even though we voted on several things last month, those payments have not actually happened yet. And I think sort of like the rest of the world, Fairfax County is moving slowly to get things done. So we have an ending balance of $77,426.74. Our conference payments have all been made. We started the carryover at $25.62.47. And our ending balance after paying the expenses for the awards and printing and Lynn's expenses leaves us with $1,899.81 at the Park Authority in our history conference account. There is also going to be the return of our deposit from the City of Fairfax because they can't hold our deposit for the facility indefinitely, and since we did not use them this year and have no firm commitment for next year, they are returning our deposit. So I've arranged with the person there with the City of Fairfax and given her the location of where to send the refund of that deposit.
Barbara, did she give you a dollar amount for the refund? I think it's $450.
She did not. I assumed you would know that.
Well, that's what I believe it is, but it may not be accurate. Also, would you mind restating what's left in the conference? I got 1,800 something.
$1,899.81.
All right. Thank you.
All right. And Barbara, did you, I know that she had a question about how to make out the check.
Yeah, I sent that to Bonnie, I think.
Yeah, I don't recall, but that's fine.
I sent her
Brianne,
back to the History Commission, but I gave her the Park Authority contact's address for sending it so that the check will be deposited into our account.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate handling those details.
Her name is Brianne, guys.
Sorry?
Brianne, the name
Brianne,
of the
I'm
person.
sorry.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm upstairs and not at my computer.
All right, on to unfinished business. Thank you. We're going to start with revisiting something when we made the decision to start meeting at 7 o'clock last year. It was made with the stipulation that we would come back to it. The following year, I didn't pick it up and place it on January's agenda because we had so many other things on our agenda. But Jordan has asked that we consider a 7:30 start time. And that is the issue for us to consider. I mentioned length in the write-up on the agenda just because I imagine that that is going to come up as part of this discussion potentially, and certainly open to any ideas about shortening, ways that we might shorten the length of the meetings so that they don't quite go, 3 hours and potentially longer sometimes. So I guess that's the basics. Is there anybody else who is interested in a later start time?
I would. Carol Herrick.
Okay.
I would go for the 7:30 time.
I would also like the 7:30 time better. In terms of ways that we could shorten the meeting, I mean, while I really enjoy some of the reports from the various county agencies that provide us information, some of it could actually come out in written reports in advance of the meeting, and we could have all read it and not have them have to go through all of the details, but just highlight what they really are interested in, are taking an action on, or.
Yeah, I would support that.
Yeah, I would too. I had let it be known when we had our voting in December that I have a hard stop for a class that begins at 9 o'clock. So 7 o'clock actually, for a short window of time, at least until April or May, will work better for me. But with a shorter meeting, we might be able to still accommodate my leave taking. I imagine you might still all be in session, but so that's kind of where I sit with that.
7:30 works better for me with my mom's appointments and things.
First. Cheryl?
Yes.
No, I had suggested, I don't know that this is something that everyone wants to do, but certainly, especially with the new person doing the minutes recording, if each chair could give a short 2-paragraph agenda to you a couple of days ahead of the meeting, we could also have that ahead of time and decide which issues needed more discussion. It would facilitate the time involved if we're trying to hold the meeting time down. No, it may not work, but that's what I thought.
Yeah, no, I think, if written reports ahead of time, if it isn't an imposition to for people to have to read those in advance, it does allow us to focus discussion on the sort of the meat of those reports.
Suppose they have to be posted.
I'm sorry, is that Esther?
This is Esther. Do you need a motion?
If we can definitely, looks like we might be able to work with on. Yeah, sure. I wasn't sure how the idea would be received at all, but we do have some interest there. Go ahead.
I move that the Fairfax County History Commission meetings start at 7:30 p.m. on the first Wednesdays of the month.
Second it.
I second. Oh, okay.
So I think that was Barbara Nape that seconded.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I would just add, so that will be effective March at the March meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Esther, that's a friendly amendment. Are you accepting?
That's fine.
Okay.
The only thing, and I've already talked to Cheryl about this, I just wanted to alert you, I've just simply asked for History Conference and Awards to be pushed to the top of the committee reports. If you guys are all okay with that.
Yeah.
That will help.
Fine, Lynn. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Is there any discussion, any concerns about a later start time, if that would be a major inconvenience for anyone?
Yeah,
Or not a major inconvenience, if that would be difficult for anybody.
We should check with Denise and see if that's a problem.
Yes, thank you, Esther, yes.
I think Steve Sherman was chiming in as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that initially the purpose of changing the meeting from 7:30 to 7 o'clock was so we can get out earlier, but for some reason the meetings were dragging on from 7 to 10. So now we're going to bump it back to 7:30, and we could be getting here at 10:30 at night. So that's not that
number of those.
Yeah, well, Steve, I would think in that case, we should also talk about how to, there have been some suggestions on how to limit the length of the meeting through written reports before. Why don't we deal with that now? I think that will be a way to condense the meeting a bit, and so we could all get out at a reasonable hour. It won't be as long.
Yeah, because I was going to say that when I was the vice chair and I probably chaired by 12 meetings back for the 3 years, that I was getting these meetings over by 9 or 9:30. So they're like 2-hour meetings, which are pretty good. Very rare to go past 9:30. So we've got to limit some of the stuff.
So yeah, Steve, you can just, any suggestions that you have that you want to share with me, you can do that offline even. I'd be happy to take a look at those in terms of.
Well, some of the things, sometimes when we have some speakers at the beginning of the meetings, we don't want to double book them. I think we don't need 2 or 3 presentations at the beginning of the meeting, which extends it further like that. Maybe if we had one, it would be okay, but I would sort of stagger them out each meeting, one at the most, and sort of set it up as the months go on. That would be a good idea. So.
Okay, thank you.
And what many agendas have are action items and information items. And if the information items could be, as we've talked about, a report could be prepared and circulated, then we could spend our time dealing with the issues that require the most time, which are usually the action items.
Makes sense.
Cheryl,
somebody else, I think it was it, someone had their hand, was waving their hand. Was it Tammy?
I don't know.
Okay, so maybe it was you, Barbara. Go ahead.
I just was going to say some of that happens already. For instance, the issue tonight on the grant, that information was sent out. So some of it's already been done. So that's, I'm just sharing that process isn't brand new. Some of that happens already. And so I think we just have to, we've had last month it was a closed session. And so if we can aim for an average of 2 hours, which I think we can, we could be in good shape. That's my view of it. It's just moderation and not lacking onto anything. Let's just all try to expedite what we're doing.
Yes.
And I would, Cheryl.
Oh, and then Carol.
Okay.
Okay. What was I going to say now? I concur with what everybody said, but we just have to remember, Denise will be the first to tell us this. We have to remember posting things ahead of time like we do. You know, I suppose any written reports will have to be posted ahead of time.
That's right.
So it's just one more thing.
I would just ask for on the behalf of the staff, that you give us a deadline of when you want those staff reports ahead of time, and we can, I'm speaking, obviously I shouldn't speak for other people, but for me, I can, go ahead of time and provide that. But I would rather have a deadline than just, something amorphous.
I think that's consistent with what Ann was just saying about being mindful of when we need to have these posted if we're going to post them.
Right. So if Denise or whomever can just give us a date, that would be great.
Yeah. And Carol.
Yes, thank you. I am supportive of the 7:30 time, but we do have those presentations in the beginning, and some of them take a long time. And, you know, you ask them, you say, well, can you do it in 15 minutes? And they go on for 45 minutes. If it turns out it's going to be a long presentation, maybe we start at 7. But, you know, some of those presentations get very lengthy. So I'm just maybe suggesting that if we think we're going to have a long one, maybe we start at 7, but otherwise I support 7:30.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know about variable times, but go ahead, Lynn.
Well, no, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
There's an alien got in there. Really grateful we're having this conversation. We probably should have had this conversation 18 years ago. But anyway, I think all of the opportunity to condense and do cliff notes and have reports ahead of time is brilliant. So I just want to affirm everybody in that way. That's it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I call the question.
There we go.
Hi, I do want to chime in as staff, and I'm not sure what's happening with the sound, but I do want to underline or emphasize that anything that is distributed to the commission for a meeting in advance must be posted. And by FOIA rules, we're supposed to post 3 days in advance of the meeting. So that means that you know, any information, particularly staff reports, which, you know, as Liz is saying, just give her a deadline. So staff reports would need to be posted 3 days in advance of the meeting.
Denise, is that 3 business days?
Yes.
Or 3 weekdays?
Business. So, for instance, the agenda for the History Commission must be posted on Friday for Wednesday's meeting.
Denise, the treasurer's report could not possibly be posted that far in advance. How would I handle it?
Yes. Now, when you say it couldn't possibly, do you mean that you do not receive the information from staff early enough?
I often don't receive the information I need until late the night before or the morning of.
Right. And I have made a note of that, Barbara. Technically, we should be posting that treasurer's report on Friday.
But sometimes our meeting is the first of the month.
It can be, yes. Yeah. So the cutoff date would just be 4 days in advance. I mean, the treasurer's report, the dates are flexible where the FOIA requirement is not.
Okay, so can I get the financial information that far in advance for end of month reporting?
I think we could ask our financial team if they could back the date up 3 days.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, you know, as Barbara said, this isn't necessarily something that we're going to set in stone. You know, I don't want to inconvenience staff, but you know, if we can, to a more greater extent, you know, provide written reports in advance. And I will be, I just set up my calendar in order to get the agenda out in a more timely fashion. And that means that will help to sort of start the engine rolling a little bit earlier. and so that we can all sort of have this in mind. So I'll be getting a draft agenda out much earlier so that I can get the agenda posted. On my calendar, it says Wednesday instead of Friday of the week before. So that should help. Any further? Yeah.
Cheryl, the only 2 months we'll have the first on a Wednesday will be September and December this year. And then they'll only in 2022, there'll only be 1 month. Okay. So it won't happen that often.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments, discussions? Barbara has already called that vote. So we can go ahead. So the motion, again, can you restate that for us, Barbara? Oops, you're muted.
I thought Esther made the motion. Yes, I made the motion.
I'm sorry, Esther. I actually even had that written down, and I'm.
That's okay. The motion is that the Fairfax County History Commission hold its meetings at 7:30 p.m. on the first Wednesday of the month.
Okay. All in favor?
Effective March.
Yes. Effective March with March. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. And that's I mean, it's always good to know the other perspectives and other points of view. So thank you. All right. All right, let's proceed. Just the next two items are just sort of to make sure that we don't lose track of these. If there's any update, River Farm, Tammy, do you have any updates for us?
Just a quick update. I was going to say the letter went out under Cheryl's signature to the American Horticultural Society. And so hopefully they will receive that and pay attention to it. Also, we are listed as partners now on the Save River Farm website. So that has been accomplished as well. And both of these things were noted in Supervisor Stork's advisory newsletter that went out just this afternoon. So so a little bit of public recognition that of the actions that we took during our last meeting. I will just mention that there was kind of a cool breakthrough this past week is that somebody from the community contacted me and let me know that there was a woman who had plans, the original blueprints from the tenant house on the property. And I was able to meet with her. She is 96 years old. Her name is Shirley Strickler Thomas, and her father, Charles Strickler, is the one who built the tenant house. And we got permission to go on River Farm so that she could see it in its current state. She hadn't been over there in a while. And she loaned me the blueprints, so I was able to scan those and provide them to planning and development and also to the Virginia Room. So it's just always high on my mind. So so that's kind of a cool thing, just that it confirms the name of the architect of the tenant house, we believe, is the same as the main house for the Matheson, Malcolm Matheson revisions to the house. So so that was just kind of a cool confirmation. And Mrs. Strickler Thomas is amazing, and she has connections to other historic properties in the area, Gunston Hall, and my favorite Wells Fargo Bank on Route 1. So it's part of her family history.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Jordan, anything to update us on the Soapstone connector? Jordan.
Muted.
You have to unmute yourself, Jordan.
Okay, there we go. Sorry. Yes, a little bit. I have been communicating with Mark Homa of the Department of Historic Resources, the Virginia SHPO's office. Although they didn't comment on the 4F, they are planning to comment on the 106. They haven't yet. So that is the second act in this continuing drama. in terms of the determination of effect and mitigation. And we're both waiting for the FHWA to trigger that next step in the 106 process. And you might be interested to know, this has nothing to do with Soapstone, but I'm still on the advisory council going into my 5th year. I had been informed that I would be allowed to retire early, not early, but just allowed to retire with the change of administrations, and a person was appointed in my place, but that person, who was Melania's assistant, resigned right after the Capitol melee, and then her appointment by the president was rescinded. So yours truly is on for another term, so that's great. little vignettes there from the bureaucracy.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
Bravo, bravo.
Yeah, there we go. But so the good news is that we still have some time to see if we can bring this around, and I'll keep you posted.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Let us know if there's for anything further that we need to do on this.
Sure.
All right. Our next item is a action item on the archaeology grant request. I was hoping that Elise could present this, but in her absence, Barbara will. But before we do that, I have to hand the gavel over to Lynn.
Right.
I work for the Fairfax County Park Authority, and the county attorney would be a lot happier if I just sit back and listen and turn on my mute and let Lynn gavel this portion of the meeting. So I have to recuse myself.
Okay. Lynn, are you ready for me?
I guess so. My computer printer is cleaning at the same time, so I apologize if there's weird noise.
All right. I have not been able to. I attempted to reach Elise, could not. You all received. Cheryl forwarded the details of the grant request. I have as some of you may know, I'm from Hunter Mill, but I sit in the archaeology chair, so I have my archaeology chair hat on right now. This is the request that was presented at our last meeting by Liz. And in the past history is, real quickly, the entire county archaeology program was pushed and started back in the 70s with the mentor and the leadership of the History Commission. And so we've been doing this for literally decades. And we have in the past provided grant money for seasonal employees. And for several reasons, this time they have come and asked instead for equipment. First of all, in COVID, what's important is the fact that the staff are all separated and not working. But more than that, the whole concept of archaeology and how it's functioned has changed over the years, and the technology is wonderful, but archaeology and collections does not have the equipment. So the request specifically is for seven what I'm calling equipment systems. So the full there, and I asked them to put them into priorities, and you all saw there's a priority 1 and a priority 2. I'm going to move approval of the Archaeology and Collections Branch grant request of $27,250 for 7 equipment systems. If there's a second, and then I wanted to say something else. Is there a second?
I second. Jordan.
Okay, thank you. So what I did is I went back and I asked Liz if she could provide some details. What we're looking at is a photo station. The photo station that they have is 18 years old. So it lets you know where that is. Probably to me, the most important is the iPad field setup. This deals with using GPS and GIS technology And so I asked for some cost. And as you all know from Liz's monthly reports, they have had to go and do an enormous amount of work at Riverbend because the main trail went into the river, and so they're having to redo. And so it's interesting because if you look at the cost and the time it's taking, and look at staff cost using the transit, in a week it's like $9,600 in staff costs. If they get the iPad field set up, and this they can do it in a day, and the total is $415 of their expenses. So that's just an example. The flotation tank that they are requesting, they have to use the flotation tank when it's available at Mount Vernon because they do not have one. And an example of the significance of that, those of you that have been down to museum, but in the olden days, the Museum of Natural History, you will see the tiny beads that they found out at the Patriot site, which are it came from Black African American site. So that's what you do when you have flotation tanks. There's Adobe software, there's a Tableau software, and then a gee, I can't even say it. Agrisoft software that deals with it. So if there's questions, I know Liz is here to answer. I'm very supportive of providing the funding to them. So questions, go to Liz, I think.
I have a question.
Spoken.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the past, we have funded, I don't remember exactly, 10 or 11,000 over a year and a half, 2-year period.
A year period, right?
I mean, this is significantly more. Are you suggesting that kind of funding all at once or over a time frame, or selecting particular aspects of that, those requests?
Well,
Barbara, I think we're getting into discussion now. Do we want to have a motion and then
we
second?
do have a motion. Mine and Jordan seconded it.
Okay. I just want to make sure that
My motion is
other changes that.
Yeah, my motion is for the full amount, so we may have to amend it if.
Okay, all right. So make sure we're on
right. Right. This would certainly not be something we do annually, and I look at it as like a catch up and something that will allow the group to get the work done in a time. The work's increasing and the number of staff hours are not. So.
All right.
I have one question. What does the county, I'm sorry. Does the county not provide the Adobe Creative Suite already?
The short answer to that is no.
Wow.
We have, and the thing is this, natural resources that has other sources of funding. They have certain things that we don't necessarily have access to. In some cases, of late when funding has been short, the idea is, we'll get it someday, but right now, for the things that we're asking for here, it will significantly make us more efficient. And, we may get funding for this, but it might be 3-4 years down the road, and probably not for as much. We asked for the iPad setup. We had asked for iPads probably starting first about 4 years ago. We had asked for, I think at that time, 3 iPads. We got, after about 2 years, we got 1 iPad. So it's a very slow process, and part of the problem is we are one of many mouths to feed, so they try to do things equitably among the different groups.
If the cost, excuse me, the cost for the iPad field setup which would include 3 minis, data plans and accessories, is in the priority 1, and that's 6,000. Station for the camera is another 1,200. So if you look at priority 1, which also includes the flotation tank and the Adobe Creative Suite, and finally the Tableau Data Analytics group, that's 18,750. That's priority 1. So that's a breakdown. If
am I on? Yes. This is Anne. When I did talk to Elise about this, when she we didn't get a hold of her this month, but it's been in the works for a little while. She, as budget chair, did take the opportunity to look at the numbers and the uncommitted funds, and was very supportive of this, for what that's worth. And I'm very supportive of the whole amount as well.
She also reached out to me. I know she talked to you, Anne, as chair, and said that at that point, I mean, I'm speaking for her, but at that point, which was, I think, in November or December, that she was in favor of it, just sharing since she's not here. So.
Right. And the one other thing I would like to say is she gave us kind of an upset limit. So we were not, exceeding what it was she was saying when she suggested it.
Well, it seems they need all of those items immediately, and I know they prioritize some items. So I appreciate you picking those items out, but it seems everything is needed. You can't pay half for Adobe. You've got to pay the whole amount. So if we vote to do this, we should do the entire amount that we're going to do, rather than trying to break it up.
Thank you, Esther. I would also note that that in the priority 2 includes 5 more of the minis, so that all the staff in the field, wherever they are, will have the minis, which is this incredible cost saving in terms of staff.
This is Mary. I look at the savings from the conference that we did not spend, so that's just something to put in the mindset of, balancing out the funds. And I fully support, because being out on the field with them, working in cemeteries, etc., I fully support every penny that we could help with the archaeology.
Yeah, I strongly support this. I appreciate the fact that they put it into priority 1 and priority 2. I think we'd ask that, but I support everything that they need to do their work competently and professionally.
I agree. I support this. I guess I'm surprised that they don't have some of the resources now that some of us would consider basic resources. Thanks.
Yep. When we support archaeology, we're basically supporting ourselves, because they give us so much support in all our work.
Right.
I absolutely agree, but I am troubled by the fact that we're talking about supporting them to an amount that is greater than our annual allocation from the county. And I really think a lot of this should be the county that is supporting it. And I think there's a real problem there with their priorities.
Well, I will say this from the time of when I was 18 years ago now, with the Park Authority, and archaeology came to me from, came to the Park Authority and came into my portfolio from what was then DPZ. And they just have never, although the county is proud to have an archaeology program, they simply have never had the funding as a priority, and when they positions. And so this is how, whether it's good or bad, it's the real world that they deal in. So,
yeah. I mean, I think, Barbara, that if we wanted to write a letter along with this to the county board, telling them how important this is, that we've taken the step of funding it from our budget, but we certainly see this as a priority for the county. I don't see anything wrong with that. We can make the statement. I think that would be fair. Who knows? We may get a larger appropriation, maybe not, but I think that would be that would certainly be reasonable to do.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah,
I think so, especially because, I don't know. I mean, we're under certain circumstances with the history conference being canceled where we can afford to do that this year, but, but not every year, probably. So
I think this is a, I should probably let Liz speak to this, but this is an extraordinary circumstances. And so, yes, this would be.
Right.
And I don't think that we need to tie it to the conference, whether the conference happened or didn't happen or how it happened. These are funds that we feel will be used by the group, and we feel that they need this equipment.
Right.
And we sincerely appreciate this. Other years, I mean, back when Mike Johnson was still here and we were in sort of primitive technology at the time, we used to have the volunteers fill out paper catalog sheets, and those would be transcribed by a limited term employee. I apologize for my dog. And that then moved to our supporting interns. We would support summer interns who would come and work with us on projects. But with, the advent of COVID, that's, I mean, it wouldn't be fair to, we don't know what the summer is going to be like, but if we're still under, social distancing and that sort of thing, it's not really fair to an intern not to be able to get our one-on-one attention. So, we're appreciative of what you can do to assist.
The other thing is that we really have to look at the technology, and anyone that goes to any of these conferences where you're talking about the archaeology and the incredible changes that have occurred because of the new technology. This group is so far behind because they're doing manually what is done, can be done with the technology now and accomplish much more. So anyway, I think
yeah.
as the maker of the motion, I can't call the question.
You guys ready? Call a
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. You want to restate the motion, Barbara?
Yes, I will be happy to. I move approval of the Archaeology and Collections grant request of $27,250 for 7 equipment systems for use in their work.
Okay, and I second it.
All right, so in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Steve Sherman abstained.
Each
Bob and
abstains.
Steve abstain?
It sounds like Bob and Steve.
Yeah.
All right, so the motion carries with 2 abstentions and unanimous support otherwise. So Liz, there you go. Bravo.
Thank you so very much.
Wonderful.
And Chloe is thanking you too.
That's good. But you guys, again, I want to say this was a rich and helpful conversation. And Barbara, your questions are spot on for a treasurer. Thank you.
And Liz, please email me tomorrow so I can make sure I make the right moves to make this happen.
Okay, I'll make sure I'll get that information to you in the morning.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Yeah. Cheryl, it's all yours.
All right. Thank
you.
you. Appreciate that. And just to be clear, I do not work for Liz, but we work for the same agency, and so I do have to recuse myself from these discussions. All right. Actually, we're going to continue on with Liz since her staff report is up next.
Okay, I will make this.
That's brave. Brave.
Okay. First of all, for those of you from last month's meeting, I had told you that Chris Sperling had gone to Calvert County and is no longer with us. Well, about 10 days ago, Chris was hit by a car in Maryland. He is okay, but he has something on the something in the order of 27 stitches in his head. He actually had hairline fracture to his spine and has a number of broken ribs. But he was crossing in a crosswalk with his wife, his son, and his dog, and everyone else got out of the way, but Chris did not. So Chris is recuperating right now. So for those of you who are on Facebook who might be his friends, reach out to him and tell him you hope he's feeling better. But, you know, I've been in contact. We've sent him a gift basket, et cetera, and I've been in contact with his wife and, you know, have been in contact with him as well. So he's on the mend, but still in a lot of discomfort. So that's where that is. Continuing on a staffing, forward with staffing, we have advertised for Chris's position. That advertisement closed on the 15th. I received a short list from the county. I provided them with information on the people who were qualified. I've sent that back, and hopefully we will be able to complete our interviews for that position by the end of the month. Again, on staffing and HR issues, in December last year, we had a limited term field director, and very sadly, she left us and went to a position at Longwood University. The position after she left was frozen because of the shortfalls with COVID, and we were unable to hire that position. As it turns out, because of COVID, her position was not working out down at Longwood. So we got, again, permission to rehire this limited term field director. So Robin Ramey will be back with us and has started this past Monday. And we're very glad to have her back. She's very talented. She's like a lot of my staff, she's just a quiet powerhouse. She just moves forward, super knowledgeable, as well as having a master's degree in archaeology. She has 2 certificates in GIS. So we're very, very thankful to have her. The other, again, HR thing that we've gone forward with is that we were able to promote Elisa Pettit, who's worked for us for more than 10 years. She's been on our staff as a limited term archaeologist, and we were able to promote her to a full-time position. That was advertised. We did interviews for that. And so as of this past Monday, Elisa is now a permanent employee. So now we have, well, we will have, you know, myself and 4 full-time employees. And Elisa is the person who knows how to operate all of the different equipment that we are getting from the grant. So we appreciate her being able to, you know, have that to use, because she is moments from finishing her PhD at George Mason University. And her PhD is in GIS and computer applications, and her dissertation is using those computer applications for archaeology. And maybe at some future history conference, Lynn, we could have her show you some of her magic. Moving on, we are continuing to do the field work and the reporting, both at Mount Ayr and Riverbend. And I won't belabor it at all, but I've been working with a number of people on a variety of interpretive wayside markers, and hopefully the major part of that will be resolved by the end of the month. So that's where we're going with that. And I think you've heard enough from me and things from my branch, unless somebody has any specific questions.
All right. Thank you. And yeah, we were talking about Elisa the other day, her skills. So so we're looking forward to that. So Heritage Branch, I don't see who is here for Heritage Branch. Denise, do we?
So yes, Diana is here. Let me, Diana, are you there?
Hi there. Yes, it wasn't letting me mute myself. Sorry. Hello, everyone. I'm Diana. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Diana, we can hear you. Thank you.
I can hear you.
Okay, so from Museum Collections, the collections manager applied to and was accepted and attended the Image Permanence Institute's grant-funded workshop, Training Sustainable Environmental Management Teams for Cultural Institutions. The January Artifacts blog highlighted a Tollware pin tin for National Pie Day. And so that was submitted and posted onto our social media platforms. The collections manager also provided the Virginia room with digital copies of 3 CDs of oral interviews about Annandale. She also gave an extensive tour of collections to the new LTE staff member at Colvin Run Mill. And she provided information and was involved in all the meetings regarding the new collections facility and the planning behind that. For operations and maintenance projects, the conservation lease for Sears House is in review. This would make Sears House the pilot property for this program. The historic structure reports for the outbuildings at Selly Historic Site are also in their final draft review. New with our volunteers, the 2021 HSVC volunteer meet and greet and information session scheduled for Wednesday, February 10th, next week. This meeting will be held virtually via Microsoft Teams for anyone who's interested in volunteering with us this year. And that is all. And then resident curator updates, Bob will be reporting on those. Does anyone have any questions?
All right. Thank you so much, Diana.
Of course.
Bob, do you want to go right now for that report, or do you want to wait till you're a little bit further down?
No, I can go. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Not really long. I'm just curious. I got a new microphone. How do y'all hear me?
Nice.
Good.
Okay.
Great.
All right. I'll speak right up. Resident Curator Program updates. The Board of Supervisors public hearing for the full term RCP lease on the Hannah P. Clark and Yeti House will be held on March 23rd, 2021. Time to be determined. The curator's current interim PAB lease expires on April 2021. So that's coming right up. The Board of Supervisors public hearing on the Resident Curator Program lease for Elmore Farmhouse will also be held on March 23rd, 2021. Time to be determined upon the Board of Supervisors' approval of the lease. Service Source will submit a special exception application for its proposed nonprofit use of the site. Full Resident Curator Program lease commencement will be contingent upon the special exception approval. Second to last is Turner Farmhouse, which continues its improvements on the interior. The special exception application is under Department of Planning and Zoning review. And the Stempson House continues with master bedroom renovation with covered porch repair and as an upcoming project. And the staff is working with park operations to evaluate the well and septic at Margaret White Gardens. So there you go on the construction front. We're good. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Bob with regard to those improvements? Sounds interesting. Service Source, I've worked with them, so it's interesting to see them moving into that position. All right. Sorry, Virginia Room, Laura.
Hello, everyone. Even though the library is closed, you can't physically come in the building. I'm sure you know. You can put a book on hold and come pick it up. While that's happening, Virginia Room staff continues to be busy doing what we do, answering research requests. We're doing indexing, scanning. We've been allowed to telework 1 day a week, which is really nice. Something that happened this week, the Great Falls Historical Society has disbanded. And Douglas Cobb, one of their members, delivered their collections to the Virginia Room to Chris on Tuesday. It's the 6 or more boxes of material. So I think this was a really hard decision for them. I wasn't part of that conversation, but it happened. So that's what's happened in terms of local history. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else have any questions about that? Sir, David.
Yes, did you say the Fairfax County Historical Society disbanded?
I hope that's not what I said. I hope what I said was Great Falls Historical Society.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right, thank you. I couldn't hear clearly. I wanted to make sure. I'm a life member of the county, so I haven't heard from them lately, but I wanted to make sure that they still had they were at least on life support.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
They're still going strong. I'm a life member too, David. You know, our own Chris Barbershak is president, so it won't die yet.
Okay, thank you. Glad to hear it. All right.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I wonder how many other historical societies might be struggling to try to maintain membership, and especially during this time period where we can't have regular meetings and the like. Denise, thank you for your patience.
Yes, of course. Thank you all. So my staff report, I will try to be brief. I timed it, it's 5 minutes, so I'll talk quickly. So the Soapstone Connector and Association Drive office complex, DPD received a copy of the Federal Highways letter to the Department of Historic Resources asking for concurrence on FHWA's determination of adverse effect of the Soapstone Connector Highway project on the Association Drive Historic District. The Section 4F evaluation concluded that there is no feasible improvement avoidance alternative to use the land from the Association Drive Historic District, and FHWA may approve either Alternative 1 or Alternative 2 alignment of the Soapstone Connector. Both alignments will require the acquisition of one of the properties that is a contributing element to the Association Drive Historic District. FHWA recognized the need to prepare a memorandum of agreement to resolve adverse effects, and they will be in coordination with, working in coordination with DHR and the consulting parties to achieve concurrence on the proposed mitigation. Wellington at River Farm proposed HOD in the Mount Vernon district. Laura Arsenault and Nicole Brannon are working on drafting the report for the proposed HOD. There will be a community meeting on Monday, February 22nd at 6:30 p.m. to discuss the study's findings and process. The project team has asked to present to the History Commission at your March meeting. At that time, they will be asking for a vote of support for the creation of the HOD. The Planning Commission public hearing is scheduled for March 17th, and the Board of Supervisors public hearing is scheduled for April 13th. More information can be found on the Wellington HOD webpage. Holland Hills potential HOD in the Mount Vernon district. A community-wide meeting was held on January 25th to discuss the study's findings, including the potential boundary, contributing and non-contributing properties, and the draft design guidelines. The presentation and meeting recording are posted on the Holland Hills HOD webpage, and Laura Arsenault is accepting public comment on the materials through the end of February. The Homes Run Acres potential HOD in the Providence district. Staff is continuing to meet with the work group. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 24th at 6:30 p.m. The work group will be hearing a presentation on ZMOD and accessory dwelling units, and an update from EH Traceries on the design guidelines. More information can be found on the Homes Run Acres HOD project webpage or by contacting Nicole Brannon. The Reston Architectural Survey in the Hunter Mill District. We're expecting the final draft from the consultant any day, and it will be posted on the Reston Survey project webpage once it's received and reviewed. As a reminder, this project was partially funded by a cost share grant from DHR. The survey results will be presented to the ARB at their March meeting and to the Reston Master Plan Task Force sometime in April. The survey will be used as a planning tool by DPD staff in the development review process. You can contact me if you have any questions. The Gum Springs Cultural Resource Study in the Mount Vernon District. The project is in a slight holding pattern until after the Mount Vernon District's Town Hall, which is scheduled for this Saturday. This project is being funded by carryover budget requests made by Supervisor Stork last year to fully fund an architectural study and complete a state preliminary information form, which is the first step in the process for a National Register nomination. The Supervisor's Office will be creating a community group to advise on the project. We've not set up a webpage yet for this project, but if you'd like more information, please contact me. The Pride of Fairfax National Register nomination in the Mount Vernon District. Research and documentation for the completion of a National Register nomination for the Pride of Fairfax has begun. This project is being partially funded through a certified local government grant we received from DHR. Staff anticipates scheduling a project kickoff meeting with the community later this month. And again, if you have any questions, there's not a web page, but get in touch with me and I can provide more information. Future survey efforts and funding opportunities. Looking forward, we are hoping to apply to the state's grant programs this year to complete a context study of the county's African American history, along with a county-wide architectural survey. This is a large project, and we may end up needing to distribute the work over the next 2 years and 2 grant cycles, and we'll keep you updated as we move forward on that. The Fairfax County Semiquincentennial Work Group. The first work group session for the county Semiquincentennial commemoration took place on January 22nd. The work group went over its purpose and charge, and I'm not going to say too much more about that because I think Gretchen has a report about it, but I will just say that they will be meeting monthly until July when their report is due to the Board of Supervisors. And that is my report. Thank you.
Denise, Jordan, I have a question.
Yes.
Surprisingly about soapstone. When did you receive the request for comments from the FHWA? What was the date on that?
So it wasn't actually a request for comment. It was the concurrence letter to DHR. And that was this week, Jordan.
Okay. Could you send me a copy of that?
Yes.
Email me a copy of it. Great.
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Let me ask one other question while we're on that.
Oh,
subject.
sure.
is your office planning on respond, or have you been asked to respond, or are you planning to respond to the determination of adverse effect? And there.
No, I do not believe that. I do not believe that we will be responding. However, I'm not the project lead, so I can double check with the project lead. I certainly believe that we will be participating in the discussion for mitigation.
Right. Okay, but no mention of a consultation meeting or anything like that in the letter?
No, just that they would be working with the consulting parties.
Okay, all right.
Denise,
Yes.
I attended the Homes Run Acres work group.
Wonderful.
And they really are caught up very much on the ZMOD issues. And we will be, a lot of the people who were interested and who were in that group also were at that 6-hour ZMOD public hearing on Thursday night, which those of us who don't sleep attend virtually in our pajamas. And they still have a lot of questions. So I think I'm going to be talking also with Nicole Brannon, but we still don't understand exactly how restrictive some of the language needs to be. And we've been looking at what Holland Hills is doing. There's still so many questions. We're not even halfway through going through contributing and non-contributing properties. So I think we'll have to either speed up meetings or something. And I don't know what Nicole's schedule is, but the residents the people who live there were very frustrated by the things they were hearing so far about CMOD. And I welcome having another speaker in. We've had a speaker in, but she really did not give yes and no answers. Everything was way too gray. So thank you for working on this with Nicole.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you could attend the meetings.
Well, it's easy when the computer's here and you're in your pajamas.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Denise. Actually, you mentioned a context study. Could you just very quickly talk a little bit more about the African American History grant that you guys are working on?
Yes, exactly. Well, that right now is the the amount of information that I have.
Okay.
This is the cost share grant was just posted this week. It's going to be the grant application process is held open until April. So we have until April to complete this the grant application, and we'll be working with DHR to see where it best fits. But I have reached out to Phyllis Walker Ford and started talking to her about it, and we're just in the very beginning processes of working through that. But yes, we definitely would like to apply for a grant and get that context study done. And it might be that what we do is have the context written, the history written, and then do the survey and as a second part, as a follow-up part. But it could be that we're able to do it all at once. So we're working through those questions right now.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we're going to move on to, since Phyllis is not here, we're going to go straight to Lynn since, oh, sorry, Mary, I didn't see your hand.
Phyllis asked me to speak for the minute.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There is our first committee meeting, which is this coming Tuesday, February 9th at 2:30. And we'll be discussing mission statements, etc. The only other thing we need to report is that as part of our African American initiative, we have our 2 West Springfield High School students who have, we're thinking about at least 10 names of African American county residents, and we'll be starting interviews of them and research. And these young ladies are delightful, excited seniors who are so pleased because they're actually going to be learning about their own family history. So we had a great meeting with them. Actually did a practice interview with them, and they're going to be launching shortly. So that's it for the African American History Initiative.
Sorry, I turned my. Thank you. That's exciting. I look forward to the meeting. And if you all are recognizing a sort of theme that we're working on here, I'm going to then pass this along to Lynn. She can continue with that with regard to our history conference. Lynn.
Okay, and Mary and Phyllis, if you guys don't mind, as we kind of tighten up the agenda here a little bit, I'm okay if you guys go before the history conference, because I think whatever you have to say might have some interesting impact on some of our conversations too. So we can continue to segue in that fashion. All right, the History Conference Planning Committee met on the 27th of January in the evening. Present were Barbara Naif, Esther McCullough, Phyllis Walker Ford, Mike Irwin, David Meyer, Elizabeth Crowell, Jordan Tannenbaum, and Cheryl Rapetti. Sally Lyons had wanted to join us, but had her mom to attend to that night. Some kind of disappointing but understandable changes on the team. Mary has graciously offered to continue to support the conference, but with her many other commitments has asked to take a back step on this team at this time. So I do also want to take a moment right now, and for the rest of the team that's here, Mary, you have been an absolute unflappable member of this History Conference Planning Committee. And one of the comments we made when we were together last week was, who's going to come up with the name of the conference for us? Because we've always leaned into you for that. So you've just been a great contributor in so many ways, helping behind the scenes, having done numerous presentations through the years. Whether or not AV worked, you plugged ahead, and just we're really an astounding and helpful participant on the committee. So yes, we will be tapping you if we need a little bit of extra support. All right, the team had 4 topics to review: 1, the conference theme; 2, the venue, live stream, or both, a budget and marketing. And we pretty much got through a chink at the first topic. We did hit on the other ones, but I'll go over that in a minute. And I'm excited to tell you that our proposed theme is Fairfax County's history of diversity. And while that is a ginormous topic, it is certainly epic in scope. Our tentative plan at this moment is to stretch that out over the next 4 years, culminating in an amazing conference for the 20th year conference. And so we had a lot of very rich, very deep, very passionate discussions about what that would include, how far back to go. It was pretty much decided that since we had done quite a few conferences about the Civil War, we wouldn't sort of regroup around that. However, the theme of African American heritage in this county is really important, not to be left out. And so using some themes, even around Reconstruction. We've never really done a conference in the theme of Reconstruction. But there's just so much to cover from that into the present, the 19th century, the 20th century, 21st century. And one of the key components is the reality of immigration. Immigration has hit this county so many times in so many ways and left so many different marks. So the reality of the county's development, its economy, its infrastructure, our housing realities, our education realities, our religious orientations, and even our land use have been deeply, deeply affected by the immigrant reality in our county. So there's a lot to tell. And so having spent, as I said, a significant amount of time on this, the way we've left things, and I sent an email out today summarizing this, and Ryan, I can forward this to you because it'd be great for you to include in the minutes. Each of the team members are going to come up with some suggested topics for all 4 years. Again, this is still draft. This is not 100% final. So we can get a sense of how that could be divided up. So we're going to meet again on Wednesday, the 24th of February, again on Centrix. I need to get that backup information to Denise. Oh, one other piece that we've never really talked much about in our conference is the reality of the Native American piece. And I do know even in the Clifton area up until the 40s and 50s, there was certainly a Native American presence in our county. In terms of venue, everyone loves the Sherwood Community Center. And so David, thank you for having that right in the middle of Fairfax for us. We still need to do some data gathering as to what Sherwood is even doing right now. Even if we decided to do, and COVID just sort of seemed to go away by August and we went ahead and planned the conference. I don't know what Sherwood is planning and what their restrictions are. And I certainly can't imagine them saying yes to 100 people in one gathering at this point in time. It just, it would not be a healthy decision, nor do I think we'd have much of a showing for it. So we've still got some work to do on that. Channel 16 stands by us strongly. They want to continue to work with us and give us their support for virtually nothing, which is amazing because the cost of using a studio like that for a day is got to be upwards of $4 to $5 grand. So we really don't have a budget at this time. We were happy to see that our conference budget this last year was low. Obviously, we've already had that discussion, and not having food to take care of or a venue fee certainly helped with that. In terms of marketing, I think this broad brush and certainly the diversity component of it is going to help us reach out to a much larger age diverse and ethnically diverse crowd. So stay tuned on that. It'll be, I think, kind of interesting to see where all of our ideas come together. I also want to add that Sue Kovich has indicated an interest in joining this committee. Tammy and I had talked about this at one point in time, but with River Farm, it looks like she's taken up with that. Is there anyone else that would like to be part of this committee that has not been on this committee before, or anybody that would like to step back? This would be a good time to make that decision. Okay. All right, team, anything I left out? Oh, one little piece of trivia. There's over 160 languages spoken in our community at this point in time. Cheryl did that research for us, so we'd have some idea of today's current diversity, which is pretty
But we will not be speaking them.
Oh, my Lord. I hope not. Good point, Esther. All right, so nothing else on the history conference in terms of awards. I also want to put out a pitch to anybody that would like to join the awards committee. We are now down one person. Greg Wilson had been on our committee, so if somebody wants to jump on this, please, raise your hand, do a shout out, let me know. It really is a very important committee in the county. And I would like to, in the not too distant future, and I can do this via email with the committee members, put out a news release. And Denise, I may need your help to craft this and distribute it. But I'd really like folks to know about the Jack Hiller Award, because it's our first year where we would make that available for the public. And I also think with it being COVID time, this is a perfect opportunity to go out and consider taking photographs and taking pictures. And I know all the pictures I saw on Facebook the last couple of days with this gorgeous snowfall, which is really quite breathtaking. So stay tuned for that. Steve, anybody, anything else? Elise is not with us. Anything else, Steve, you think we should add here?
Nothing that I can think of now.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's it for me for awards. Thank you all for accommodating the agenda lineup. Thank you. I will be spending the next semester on funerals. So anything you've ever wanted to know about funeral planning, interfaith approaches, preparation, I'll be a go-to person. All right, thanks.
Okay, all right, thank you, Lynn. Gretchen, Semiquincentennial.
Sure, thanks. So the state commission meeting is next week. So I have nothing new to report from our last meeting. If you're interested, these meetings are open to the public and you can watch it online, and let me know if you have an interest and I'll send you a link. the Fairfax County Work Group, I won't go over what Denise said, but Mary Lipsy and I did attend, as well as Denise. And basically, it was an organizational meeting, and it provided a background and a formation of the work group and the state commission. So at the next meeting, which is not scheduled yet, representatives are asked to bring ideas back for the commemoration. And, you know, we have a lot of commemorations under our belt. So we plan to suggest some of the successful projects that we've done for the Sesquicentennial and the Fairfax 275. Awesome. There is a website that Denise has assisted in launching for the work group, and it's off the planning and development page. And I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat, and it'll also be in the minutes. I'll drop that in the chat in just a second. And then finally, again, just to remind you that once the work group has a work plan, we'll go ahead and start meeting regularly as a commission. And the committee includes Mary Lipsy and myself, Sue Shimon, and Jordan Tanapa.
Okay.
That is my report.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
So inventory, budget, and annual report are lease. So I guess we'll pass those by. We did do some of the final parts of the fiscal year 22 budget request for which was sort of last year's business. Anne is wrapping that up for us. Thank you, Anne. Markers, Mary.
Okay, I'm going to try and be fast. Just out of information, I've gotten requests from Indiana and Ohio, people who are interested in marker programs. Some that are already functioning, they're kind of lagging behind. Just quick example, they have a proposed marker to put up for the grandmother who was on Bewitched. And so she was just reaching out in terms of, you know, more historical type of signs. And another one from Ohio, same type of thing, asking for what our program was like, etc. So I've spent time with both of them. Cheryl and I both worked with Patrick Lennon and Gretchen discussing the Civil War Trail sponsorship, and drafted questions to send to the county attorney about that possibility or non-possibility. I met today with via phone with Area Calendar from Supervisor Palchek's office. He'd reached out to me during the Confederate name inventory and came back around and said, you know, we really would like to get children or students involved in local history, and did I have any ideas? Well, I spent some time, and one thing that impressed him, of a suggestion I made, is having kids draft marker text. And several years ago, and I can't even remember the name of the elementary school out in Centerville area, I was a judge for fourth grade classes, and the teachers had done this, and the kids each, I told them, I said, I wish they had done history commission markers, but they did state markers, and they worked in groups or individuals and researched something important to Fairfax County in 100 words, and the teachers had like a template, so it was like a science fair. We walked around and judged them. I don't know, we weren't asked to stay for their awards, so we don't know who actually, you know, got the awards. Well, RA has actually met with the social studies curriculum specialist of Fairfax County Schools, because I said this has to be, if it's going to be a county initiative, it has to come from the county, not the History Commission, you know, asking that. So he's met with the coordinators, some board members, and is interested in having a type of a competition. So we are just in the draft stages of this and discussing. You know, I said, that the West Springfield Applied History teacher, Brian Heinz, is interested in piloting this with his students who are generally juniors and seniors, first semester of his class this coming fall. So if we could get a draft situation for them and let them go through the procedure. But I talked to him about, you know, we don't want these kids all to be set up with the idea that if their marker gets a prize, it's going to have a metal marker in the ground. You know, I mean, we will make this as a competition and have the History Commission. Of course, he kept saying the History Commission Marker Committee will be involved. It will be an opportunity for them to do research and do local history research. So there's a lot of things that need to be discussed and worked out, but I got really excited about it. I think it'd be great for the students and the teachers, and our timing of this is something I've suggested, and that's after the SOL testing, because that usually has about a month of school left. That's when these fourth grade classes did it last year. And I suggested that introduction of it could be earlier, but the actual final, and that Laura might appreciate this. I said all copies of all texts, all research should be printed up and given to the Virginia room so that, you know, people could say, wow, this is what our students are doing in Fairfax County schools. So that was exciting. I said, you know, we can make it like an art show and have best of show or whatever. So there's, I'll keep you in tune and let you know what's happening on that. My big action item is the text for the Carrollton marker, and you should have been able to see this. This is a rewrite of the existing marker that is on Kingstown Parkway, brought up several years ago by a resident in the area. I don't know more specifics than that, but Deb Robeson worked on it, and Phyllis and I have worked on it with other descendants, etc., and Maddie McCoy, to come up with the text that we have. So I would like to read the text to you. You should be able to have a copy to also, and I'd also then like to make a motion about it. The title is Carrolltown. Between 1899 to 1903, George Carroll purchased 120 acres adjacent to the original 10 acres bequeathed to him by Dennis Johnston, owner of his mother, Jane. By 1918, Carroll had sold 51 acres to family, including the Kelly, Baker, Carter, Harris, Horad, and Carroll families. The prosperous community, Carrolltown, that developed here consisted of these extended family units. These families, who were committed to the community's success, donated lumber from Carrolltown to build the Laurel Grove School and church. Children from Carrolltown attended the school. George Carroll was a respected community member, a licensed business owner, and a trustee at the Laurel Grove Church. And I would like to make a motion that we accept the text as written.
I will second. Barbara Nate seconds.
And we have discussion.
Mary, I just have a quick question. Do you happen to know if this Harris family is at all connected with the Harris family in Clifton? The time frame of this is a bit later, but
Phyllis would be able to answer that more. I could give you the information of when they, it's after the turn of the century, about 1910, they received the property from George Carroll. So I do not know the answer.
It kind of matches the time when some of the Harrises exited Clifton. I just wonder if some landed over there. All right.
I don't know.
Hey, Mary, Steve Sherman here. I just wanted to mention, was Phyllis Walker Ford, was she part of your committee when you
yes.
did this?
She and I, yes, we worked on this together, and then Phyllis ran it by Evelyn Russell and some of the descendants of the families.
Okay, yeah, because this is in Lee District in the Kingstown, Franconia area, and of course we initially had the marker up and there was some verbiage wasn't correct, but Phyllis is basically really an expert on this. And if she was a part of this, I think
Yes.
that will be okay.
Yes.
Mary, if this is Barbara Nape, I like it because you're identifying particular families, and I know that some of the descendants are still here. And I think part of our African American initiative is to focus on not just a large grouping, but actually on individual stories. So I think this is a wonderful example of that.
Well, I tell you, I was delighted to participate with it because I learned so much about the area. And just a little trivia, his full name is George Washington Carroll, and he was born on February 22nd.
Ah, great.
I would love to put that in the marker, but anyway.
Oh.
Any other questions or comments for?
Yes, Steve Sherman here. I just want to mention, I believe where this is located at is at close to the intersection of Hayfield Road and the Kingstown Parkway.
Correct.
Right there, that section between Manchester Lakes and the Kingstown area.
That is correct. Okay, Cheryl, do you call the motion? Or?
I was just about to say, let's let's go ahead. Yeah, I'm not. I have to
say one thing first.
Sure.
I mean, Mary, I don't think you brought to the attention of the commission. We will be paying full cost.
That's in my second motion. That's in my second motion. Yeah.
I apologize.
That's okay. Just doing the text right now.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we have a motion to accept the text for the Carroll Free revision of the Carrolltown marker as read by Mary. Do we have, so Mary's made that motion. Yes, Mary, did we have a second?
Barbara Nape.
Barbara had a second. Okay, thank you. And so all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? All right, motion carries. All right, so now, Mary, your second motion with regard to this marker.
This is a replacement marker, so there is no applicant paying for half of this. So it will be the entire $2,020 for the CWA studios. And then web signs, which is what the vendor is, that the county facilities is using, it gave me an estimate and it would bring it up to at least $29.20. It means removal of the old sign, preparing new concrete for the new one, and then installing, and also disposal of the old sign. I make a motion that we approve $2,920 for the removal and disposal of the old marker and financing of and installation of the new marker.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion with regard to this second part of the motion, of the sign?
I had a question. With the web signs, like, are there fees, like a one-time fee to put it up there?
Yes, and this is unusual because it means removal, and so it's more than just the installation that we've been charged before. Okay, so this, as he said, this will be 3 trips for him. Plus, I'm assuming there'll be a dump fee if whatever he does with the metal sign. So altogether, he gave an estimate of about $900, and so it adds up from the 2020 to 2020.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, we can go ahead and call the vote. all in favor of allocating 2920 for the removal and replacement of the Carrollton marker, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any abstentions or nays? All right, hearing none, I assume that was passed unanimously, although it exactly sounds like a unanimous chorus of ayes, but it's getting later. All right. And Mary, do you want to talk about cemetery preservation? Is there anything to discuss there?
Just quickly, the Great Falls Historical Society members had approached me several years ago about a cemetery in the area. They contacted me today and said they are continuing, even though the society is dissolving, and want to revisit. It's the Ford Ellis Sims Cemetery on Seneca Road. Also, through our website, received a email from a George Mason student who has visited the Germantown Cemetery in Fairfax City and would like to discuss what could be done to help the conditions of markers, etc. She's going to get back to me. She's just restarted her classes, and she said she would reach back to me in the future. And that's it.
Okay. All right. Esther, anything to report on ethnic and oral history?
Thank you. Yes, hot off the press. I have received information from Channel 16, the representative Pam Gardner. We were waiting for dates that they were willing to do the project, and that just came in February 24th and 26th are the dates that they'd like to devote to having the interviews. The first group to invite would be Jerry Connolly, Sharon Bulova, Kathy Hutchins, and Michael Fry. Fry.
Right.
Then the second group, Jerry Hyland, Dana Kaufman, Joan DuBois, and Kate Henley. Now, what we plan to do is send a letter with the signature of the president of, the chair of our commission and me, and invite these people to come for an interview and send the questions along with. My concern, because I have not had a chance to talk to the committee, and as soon as we can have a committee meeting is, say, next week, 5 days, I think Denise said, because it would need to be posted first. I'm concerned about having to have this in Channel 16. First of all, most people aren't getting out for that kind of thing. And most of the people we're interviewing are older. I don't know their ages, but they're not probably going out every day, as I am not. And then the government center where Channel 16 is the location of the vaccinations.
Right.
You have crowds there. It's very well controlled, but still you'll encounter a lot of community people there in the government center. So that concerns me, and I don't know how to proceed. I've asked Pam if we could do it virtually, and she said they really would prefer us coming to the studio. So, Madam Chairman, any suggestions?
I was surprised when you said February dates, the 24th and 26th, because that is a short turnaround in terms of getting our things organized. Did she give you any other alternatives for, say, March?
No, no, because I told her this would be a long-term project with several segments. She said we would do it in quarters. So for this quarter, those are the dates.
Okay.
I don't want to burn any bridges, and certainly we appreciate all that they offer. And we need the conference to be handled. So I'm being very careful how I approach this. So
Well,
maybe could we talk offline?
Yeah.
And then committee, can we have a meeting?
Yeah. I think that sounds good. That sounds like the best plan, Esther.
Okay. Because we really want to do the project and we want to go forward. But these are not times for just walking in the government center.
Oh, no. Right. And it might be something where we would want to skip this quarter, but ask perhaps if, so that would be the 4th week in February, and ask perhaps if they could just sort of give us an idea. Next quarter, will it be, you know, the 4th week in whatever that would be, May? And kind of get an idea of what week it would be nice to know just for lead time.
Right. Good suggestion.
Esther, this is Mary. I noticed Channel 16 did our Oak Hill virtual tour. They had Sharon Bova there because she was, of course, involved with the easement on Oak Hill. And all of the interview was done outside under a tent. I'm just throwing that out. I know that it means they have to move their equipment, etc., but possibly there might be some place at the government center, out in that big field, you know, outside of the cafeteria area, that they could maybe set up a tent that people don't have to go through the building or whatever. Just a suggestion. I have no idea. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for suggesting. Of course, it's winter, dead winter.
That's right.
So, Madam Chair, if I could speak with you tomorrow on this, perhaps?
Sure. Yes, I can be available tomorrow to you. I'll send you an email in terms of when I
committee stand ready for a committee meeting as soon as possible, but we want to kind of get this squared away before the committee meets. And then we'll need volunteers to interview.
Okay.
So that is not a formal report, but that's all I have to share because I just got the communication.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this for a while, so it's good to have some progress, even if it's problematic progress.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Esther. And Barnes, you have a report for bylaws.
Yes. The bylaws will hold a meeting. I had reported last month that it would be in February. But yes, we'll hold our meeting on the 25th. That's a very popular date tonight. On the 25th of February.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. And anything else?
No.
All right. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's hard for folks who are on the phone only. I'm sorry if I step on you sometimes. I don't have those visual cues. Advocacy. Anne is now the chairperson of advocacy because I forced her.
Well, I have no report. We haven't gotten started, but we will.
All right. We don't have a report from our ARB liaison. David, thank you for your patience waiting for so late.
I do have a little one item. I think I've shared with the commission previously that our approach to addressing the issue of Confederate street names, monuments, insignias is to take this issue of street names and really broaden the whole initiative to talk about our past, to have a broader understanding of the city's history with respect to racism, social justice, and equity. And we have created a stakeholder group of citizens that are going to lead the city through a series of learning and listening sessions to have programs and presentations on our history past. And this is all being facilitated through the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Center for Conflict Resolution at George Mason University. And the short-term results we would like to see is to have this group bring to the City Council recommendations for possible name changes in the city. And this might happen in mid-calendar year 21. But beyond that, we will be talking about looking at city's programs and priorities, our budgets, our things that we can do to really address the issue of a more inclusive and our policies as a city more inclusively moving forward. And that includes reallocation of public resources to those persons who might need them the most. Or increasing our expenditures to address some areas that haven't been addressed previously. So this is a long journey, a long process. So tomorrow evening, we're having our first listening and learning session, which is tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. It's virtual. Susan Gray, who is the director of our Office of Historic Resources in the city, will be presenting a program entitled Crossroads of Conflict, the Fairfax courthouse area in the time of the Civil War. Denise, earlier this evening in the middle of the meeting, sent each of you, forwarded to each of you an email from me, which has a link on it that if you want to log on and hear this program, that you can do so by registering for the event. I apologize that I didn't get this to you sooner. Jordan asked me to do it. I'm a slacker, so sorry. There's a lot of other things going on in my life, but anyway. But I encourage you, if you have the time tomorrow evening and would like to hear this perspective, it's going to be, a lot of you are going to say, well, I've heard this before. I believe this presentation is, along with others that are planned for the future, are going to have a new angle, a broader, the aperture of our viewing of history will be wider. And I encourage you to be part of that, to learn, because I think that we're going to be very intentional about doing that. With respect to the Germantown Cemetery, Mary, I have something to share with you. The city of Fairfax, for those of you who may not know, the Germantown Cemetery, spelled Jerman, because of the German family that owned a farm in that part on the western side of the city. The Germantown Cemetery was created in 1870, and it was an African-American cemetery of former slaves, and its fortunes have been strong and weak over the many decades. There's a lot of new attention being given to the cemetery. I have ensured that the City of Fairfax Public Works Department has been maintaining the cemetery in terms of mowing the grass and keeping it free of limbs and debris. But anyway, we had a program on December 19th, and we had a wreath-laying ceremony for 2 soldiers from the Korean War, African-American soldiers. And I hope that's not a metaphor or something for the rest of the evening for me anyway. But anyway, we are going to give renewed attention to the Germantown Cemetery. So if Mary wants to call me separately and talk with me about it, I'd be happy to do that. And we will be doing a program before the Northern Virginia Regional Commission later this month as well on the Germantown Cemetery. There's a keen interest among elected leaders as to looking at that cemetery, not so much just as a site, but more as emblematic of things that we can be doing in this area. Other than that, I have nothing else from the city of Fairfax to report. Thank you.
David, I would like to suggest a historical marker at the cemetery. There's quite a lot of history, and when I mentioned it many, many years ago, they said there is a marker. Well, the marker says Germantown Cemetery. So
right.
I would love to see a historical marker placed there.
Right, and in that context, I have quite a bit of information. You might already have access to it as well. But Constance Smith and her family, many family representatives were there on December 19th. And also, Dennis Howard was a very close friend of mine for 50 years.
Mine too. Not 50 years, but mine too.
He and I met each other our freshman year in college when we were 18 years old. So.
Well, you also have an African-American Confederate soldier buried there, George Lamb. So it makes an interesting story.
It is. It's interesting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And David, will you send me that link, or are we past the registration period for tomorrow
night?
No,
I don't think you're past the registration period. The link, it's in the email that you have received tonight.
Okay, I'll look for that and I'll recirculate. Did you circulate it to everyone?
I asked Denise to send it to the entire commission.
Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you.
David, are you going to be recording it?
That's a good question. I believe this one we probably will. Some of our presenters for future programs are published authors, and we are compensating them for their presentations. And to record their presentations is a considerable additional expense. So the answer is we don't know yet. It depends on how much money we have to work with. But we would like to be able to do that. I've been asked about it, and we haven't made a decision yet, but we're going to try to be able to do that.
Excellent. Yeah, I think this is a really interesting way to go about this. Yeah. Okay, I don't have any reports with regard to the website because I've just been neglecting it, poor thing. And we can go on to announcements. I'm going to ask Anne, Steve, and Carol, since I can't see you raise your hands. Do any of you have announcements? So Anne Barnes.
This is Anne, I don't.
Okay, Steve Sherman, do you have any sort of announcement to make? And Carol Herrick, do you have any announcements to make? All right, everybody else, you can just raise your hand, wave. I'll notice it. This group never doesn't have announcements. Okay.
We want the meeting to end.
You want the meeting to end? Yeah, I don't want to make us feel like we can't talk anymore. I just want to sort of make the talk be more productive and you know, more something that we're paying attention to as opposed to things that are kind of just flying by us. All right. So no announcements.
I just would like to say thank you again to the History Commission for supporting the Archaeological Initiative. And I went ahead and I texted Amy Wells, and she is elated. So thank you so much. And
we want to thank you. You've supported us all these years. We want to thank you.
Well, you're very kind, all of you. And but we're going to set up a call tomorrow morning with staff to let them know. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
We're down to 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I know this is progress. And, you know, like I said, you know, I don't want us to feel like the point is to have a race here, but just to sort of not be falling asleep by the end of the meeting. That's basically the goal. All right. Since there are no more announcements, I'm going to, unless there's objection, move to adjourn. And we will meet again March 3rd at 7:30. So we will see you then. Nice. All right. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.